Hi guys, and welcome back to our channel. Today I'm going to talk to you about the Wonder Woman corset that I did for my costume. So first of all, I want to thank everybody for being patient while I completed this, and now I'm ready to show you the finished product. So first of all, what I did was I took a blue corset that I had, a bra, so that way it'll help me shape the corset. I sketched out the design that I needed for the corset. And I started to cut the material into the strips, into like V's, and sewed them together to get the shape that I was needing for the corset. Once I put the two sides together, you want to sew down the middle. Just make sure that all the ends line up, so that way it'll look like a heart shape when you get done. In order to actually sew angles, if you're doing curves or like in this case kind of V-shape material or shapes, you want to first put the two pieces together. As you're sewing, make sure to use about a 1/4 inch seam. You want to go down to the actual point where it actually turns, or in this case kind of goes into a peak. You want to be very patient with this. As you get to a point where you can't turn the material much, you want to keep the needle down and lift up the foot slowly and do a few stitches at a time until you work through the whole pattern that you need. Make sure to, whenever you start sewing, it's always good to give it a few passes, like back and forth at the beginning, at the end, so whenever you cut your thread off, it's not going to come apart. So here you can see how the actual V shape is going to look. So here's the corset put all together in the front. So one thing you want to do is kind of start pinning the very top to start building your shape. Here you can see where I kind of start curving it and it starts looking like a heart. You want to, once you get it all pinned, what I did was I sewed it to the blue corset, and so now I have my lining for the corset. What I did was I added a peak piece on the bottom, so that way whenever I put the belt on, it kind of still has the red material on the bottom and it'll make it look better. I did some snaps on the top, so whenever I am putting my eagle chest plate on my corset, it's going to snap onto my corset, and also some snaps around the bottom waist, so that way when I put my belts, it's going to snap on as well. This just kind of makes it a little bit easier for storage, that I can take off the belt and the eagle chest plate. So the next thing I did was I start sewing the back panels for the corset. The last one I actually folded in half to be a little bit more thicker, so when I put the grommets on it, it's going to actually hold better to the corset. So the first thing you want to do is line up and pin or pencil the spots where you're going to put the grommets. Make sure they're even on both sides. Then you want to make a hole in the material before you start putting the grommets. So the grommets that I used were actually 1/4 inch grommets. You're going to have a set. You'll have a back and a top one and a bottom one. Always make sure to read on the packages what size the outlet is and what size of tool you're going to need to use, because there's actually a lot of different sizes out there. So the proper way to, this is the actual tool. You're going to have a little metal piece and then the base. So the proper way to actually do to insert a grommet, you want to first make a spot where you're going to actually put your grommet at, pencil that in, and then make a hole. Then with some scissors you want to kind of cut around, kind of like a little star around it, so that way you can have a big enough opening that you need depending on the size of the grommet that you're going to be putting in. So you'll notice that there's going to be a top piece which has an actual taller centerpiece, and then you have the flatter one that's going to be your actual back piece. So you want to put the larger one in first, how it's going to look. Make sure that the material is kind of tucked down, and then you want to put the back end on it. Then you're going to use the base, and you're going to actually put the material facing down and make sure it fits into the actual little plate. Then you're going to use the metal tool there, and with a hammer you want to just hit it a few times and you'll actually feel it kind of shifting down. And then you can see that's how you insert a grommet, and you'll see that it's spread open, and then you also will notice that it will feel smooth, so it won't actually be scratchy. So here you can actually see that I've inserted all the grommets onto my corset. You can see how that actually feels. It's not actually sticking out too much there. You're going to feel it flat. And then I've actually found this gold rope thread that I used for lacing up the corset. So here now you can see that I'm actually snapping and putting all the accessories onto the corset. So I'm putting on my belt, and you can see where the snaps that I had made, both on the belt and on the corset. And that's how my belt looks. And now I'm going to put the eagle chest plate on, so you can see how that looks on top of the corset. You can see the different snaps that I did, and you want to make sure you put enough snaps on there so that way it's going to hold in the right places on the corset. So here's the back of my corset, and this is how it's going to look with both the chest plate and the belt put on. I ended up doing that back eagle, so I think that turned out really well. So this is my finished product, guys. So thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.